We think, we act, we react, we act again, we think. This endless loop of engagement, this is a pattern of existence for humans. This is a pattern of existence for most animals as well. One difference in which humans appear to separate themselves from animals is the degree to which humans can disengage from the stream of information and analysis, to contemplate the world and to look inward, to self-reflect. That's where growth happens, and that's no secret to anyone. What's also common is the struggle that drives growth. It takes effort, and it often takes a willingness to come out of one's comfort zone in order to grow. Public speaking is a great example where it takes getting up there in front of people to learn how to get better at it. You can study it, you can prepare for it, but when it comes down to it, you have to deliver. And through that delivery, the struggle happens. Through deliberate repetition, success and failure leads towards opportunities for growth. Growth is not guaranteed. If we can't learn from our mistakes and learn from our successes, then we'll never reach our potential. That's why the decision-making process is so critical to our success and happiness in life, because decision-making is so critically tied to our growth. Our ability to see opportunities and properly value opportunities diminishes as biases are allowed to shape our view and influence our behavior. Growth takes commitment. Anyone who's dealt with any form of addiction can attest to that. It's not just a singular event. It's not just a casting away of something that we've come to know affects our ability to have self-control over that part of our lives. It may not mean that we don't have good self-control over other aspects of our life, big or small, but it does mean that there is something that has a real hold on us, something that really affects us, and it's something that we have to face each day. But when we work at it, its hold over us will lessen over time. Objectivity and bias recognition both take commitment. It's not just a singular event where we can suddenly recognize each and every bias, and from that moment forward, we are free from its influence. It doesn't work like that. It takes a commitment to growth and a commitment to objectivity, but the outcome transforms our view, and it transforms our ability for decision-making and problem-solving. Through that commitment, the hold and influence that our biases have on us will lessen. Through deliberate repetition, we'll be more closely connected with our inner selves through self-reflection, and we'll have a greater understanding of ourselves, our goals, our passions, and our moral framework. Growth happens when we can look inward, objectively looking at our strengths and weaknesses, and then execute on that self-reflection and aspire to be a better version of ourselves. When we see that growth, then we get inspired even more. That's growth. And for many, growth, especially over the course of adulthood, equates to a better sense of satisfaction and happiness in living the life that's actually being lived. As we've said before, self-reflection is found in a deep understanding of self and potential. It's a deep look inside. It takes a degree of honesty with oneself, and the more objectivity we can bring when we look inside, the better. Objectivity is used again after the look inward to assess, game plan, and execute on that game plan, to make our weaknesses become our strengths, and to make our strengths even stronger. That's literally the process for becoming a better version of yourself, as long as that growth is genuine and rooted in positivity. Think about the important decisions that we make quietly in our minds. The planning of the future, the weighing of opportunities both professionally and socially. It's in our best interest and in the best interest of our loved ones that we make the best decisions possible. Furthermore, when we're making our best decisions, we're also problem solving to the best of our ability. We're seeing the whole metaphoric field. This is how the creative meshes with the logical to bring more value to life when we embrace objectivity and discard the irrationality of bias. When asked which attribute would be the most valuable characteristic to have in terms of mastery, for many it's charisma. Between relationships and the manipulation of others, many believe that charisma would be the most helpful with them reaching their goals. But actually, objectivity is the most important characteristic of all, because without it, poor decisions are made. Making poor decisions with any tool no matter how powerful that tool may be, is an exercise in futility. What's more important to you? Is it millions of dollars and fame? Or is it making good decisions? The answer is clear. Neither the money nor the fame will last without some good decision-making along the way. Objective decision-making and problem-solving are what keep us growing. They are also what keep us alive and safe. They're what keep us from jumping out of an airplane using a parachute that's been packed by a novice. They're what keep us out of dangerous situations and out of dangerous relationships. Working with our moral framework, they're also what help us to determine the acceptable paths of action when faced with a decision or problem. If we can't see the full picture because our view has been badly distorted, then we can't see all the available options for consideration. We can't see the full picture in terms of the decision or problem at hand. Our everyday lives also provide us with tools that we can use to exercise our objectivity and sharpen our minds. We can use our experiences to recognize biases for the obstacles that they are. We can even go as far as recognizing how the bias is seeking to influence our behavior. See the bias for what it is. Recognize it over and over again, and through that repetition we'll gain mental strength and focus. Through that repetition we'll have greater control over our own ability to stay objective, especially when decision-making matters most. This is because objectivity requires periodic reassessment, and that's at the heart of continuous improvement and growth over the span of adulthood. We can recognize biases and their attempts to influence our behavior, but those don't have to be vocal or confrontational moments. We don't have to shout out our recognition of bias. We can also recognize bias quietly in our minds. It's okay to reinforce objectivity quietly to ourselves, not pushing our prioritization onto others, just being genuine to ourselves. This can be done alone or around others. It can be done walking around the city or riding on a subway. We can focus on recognizing the biases we encounter as part of our day. What is the claim being made by the bias? What is the behavior it's suggesting? And what is at stake according to the claim? More tools available to us are our words and our behavior. We're often the example of what we prioritize. We may think we stand for certain rights or principles, but it's how we behave. That's the telltale that shows whether we're genuine to ourselves or simply working to rationalize poor decisions and behavior that contradict our principles. We can use language to communicate clearly. We can use our words and behavior to minimize the friction that bias can cause in our social and professional interactions. One of the telltale signs of extreme bias is when the intentions contradict the behavior. Think of it as meaning that the destination takes priority over the journey. This can have extreme consequences when irrational behavior is rationalized, and this can happen when the intentions are considered so important that immoral behavior becomes rationalized and justified. That's when delusion plays a key role. Delusion can create a false construct of reality where logic is lost and rational thinking is circumvented by an incessant need to reinforce and defend a bias's claim. The defiance, the angst, it all helps to strengthen the delusion until it becomes so routine, so automatic, that the rationalization of the irrational becomes a lifestyle.